There we go. Hey everyone, welcome to Degens for a Brighter Future. My name is Jorge.
Degens for a brighter future.
There we go. And I'm here with my friend Fez from All Eyes on Icon, or Eyes on Icon. Excuse me. So sorry. How are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, if I complain, no one's going to listen to me. That's all crypto Twitter seems to be doing right now during this bear market. Am I right?
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's doom and gloom. We're ruined.
You know,
It's so true. I believe every tweet.
I mean, it's very challenging nowadays. You know, there's so much information. It's incredibly overwhelming, especially sifting through Twitter, Reddit, even YouTube. You know, and we're kind of being flipped over our heads a little bit. You know, Three Arrows Capital, the rise and fall of Do Kwon, all of that happening in a small amount of time. But I'm about to get way off track. So, staying on topic. So, Fez, I love your YouTube channel. I had a lot of fun watching several of your videos and just reading so much about Icon till my eyes melted out of my skull. Luckily, I picked that all up. I put it back on my face. And I got to ask you, first things first, tell me a little bit about yourself. What got you into this world of crypto and what brought you to Icon?
Okay, yeah. So I was telling you before the show, like I'm always on the other side, so I'm on your side. So this is weird for me. But look, I got into crypto just before the last bull run, the 2017, 2018 bull run. Was it a bull then? Yeah, that's the date. And I'd known about Bitcoin much earlier. Like everyone else, I had a cousin told me about Bitcoin in 2014 that I ignored. I was like, whatever. I looked at it, it had gone to 900 and I was like, I missed the boat. But the next round, I kind of stumbled upon the conversation again, and I was researching data storage, and then I learned about blockchain. And a funny story is, of all of that, I got hooked onto a project called Scicoin. You know, they're all about, and now they've released Skynet, and it's all about data storage and using blockchain infrastructure. Quite simply, the way I like to put it is their setup is the Uber of data storage, where everyone can, yeah. But look, that got me into the crypto scene, and as everyone else, so I put a small amount of money in just at the right time, and then I was filthy rich. What I deemed to be filthy rich, you know, back then. I was like, oh my God, look at this. And I'd not, even though I worked in finance, I didn't particularly pay attention to how the markets work or any of that. I was a noob in all that front. So when I saw crypto skyrocketing, I was like, well, it's only going to go up. People were telling me, oh, no, it'll come down. I'm like, what would you know? We've hit mass adoption, people. So yeah, so it went from nothing to something, back to nothing. And so when that happened, that's when I kind of started to take an interest and go, well, what are all these coins I have on me, and what are they like? You know, they haven't been going up. So that made me get into Ethereum, learn about DeFi, and on the side, then I learned about Icon, obviously, because I bought just after the ICO. So I held on to my bag and kept stacking as you would. And yeah, so that's how I kind of started my journey into crypto. I invested small, got a bit, lost it all, and then re-looked at it and going, okay, let me re-strategize and see what is actually valuable. Is there any value in this? But once I did that, I realized with Ethereum and DeFi, I was learning so much, and there was a few channels that did a few tutorial videos. And I came up with this idea that, okay, maybe I can create a business, you know, where I show people how they can move their money from traditional finance into DeFi and earn 3 to 5% interest. And it was all great on paper, but once I started it, I didn't have any customers ever. And I realized, well, during a bear market, no one's interested in any of this stuff. So that's where I pivoted and created YouTube channel called Crypto Setups, where I showed tutorials, step-by-step tutorials on how to use various DeFi protocols, which I still do on the side at the moment as well. So from there, once I got a bit of exposure into, being on YouTube and streaming and this and that, then I got involved in the Icon community because I did a few tutorials and I had this idea. I used to listen to Bankless and Sassel and Eric's podcast Into the Ether. And I had this idea, well, there's all this stuff happening on Icon. Why don't we do a podcast just like that, where every week we run through the weekly news and interview the builders? And that's how I kind of stepped into the Icon community and got involved in all things Icon.
That's awesome. And I loved your introduction. You gave me so much more than what I was asking for. And I have to say, I appreciate that you highlight those experiences of making so much and losing so much. I find that, pain is oftentimes the greatest teacher. You're probably better now than where you were before, or at least
you know what? I would love to say that, but no, reality flash. Like, I learned a ton, strategized this, screwed it all up this time as well. And, that's just part and parcel of crypto. What I didn't screw up is I've still got all the knowledge I have and learned from my mistakes. But there's a lot of every cycle you're going to learn. If you've been through one cycle, you're not going to come out of it going, well, yes, I'm ready, I'm going to nail it the next cycle. You're probably going to make similar mistakes again. I think I saw a tweet from Sassel, big ETH guy, and I like this one tweet he put out, and he talked about his journey, and he's been through 3 cycles, and it wasn't until his 3rd cycle where he kind of got it right. Like he did, and he talked through it, the first cycle, like I bet you went through this as well. Once you learned about crypto, you learned how to read the charts, you thought trading is going to make you a fortune. It never makes anyone, well, in my experience, it hasn't made anyone a fortune. It's just lost me a whole heap of money. But, so he had similar things where even in the 2nd cycle where he thought he planned, in the end, he screwed it up. And it was in this cycle where he executed on his plan correctly and he's come out of it in a good way. So 3rd time's the charm, man. I've been through 2.
Hey, no, I feel like this cycle has felt like going through so many different crashes. And I remember the last crash to 30,000, everyone just told, hey, no, this is the new bottom. This is the new bottom, that we're going back up. Oh my God. And now we're breaking below that. We have a really intense quantitative tightening in the US, and you'll forgive me, I'm not familiar with the Australian central bank or what they're currently doing, but here in the US, there's a lot of rate hikes, which are affecting other central banks who hold US dollars or US dollar bonds in a very precarious position. Now we're seeing liquidity get sucked out. So oftentimes what I've been preaching, especially to the private group, is we often discuss who's building, where's the market going to go? Because we went to $3 trillion so fast. I mean, the amount of money that flowed in, the amount of value aggregated, the advancement in technology and finance isn't heard of. Even when we were in the higher numbers, we had the IMF talking about how much more efficient DeFi is, despite all of their skepticism, which may or may not be warranted. But with that being said, I think we're in a good space. And if we're still building, then I think we're going to find ourselves in a better place. Maybe it'll be 3 cycles further, but I think we're going to be all right. So my next question for you is, so Icon, when I was doing my research, it was like, I thought I had seen Pandora's box, but it was clearly just like one of those Russian dolls where you open it up and there's just another one and another one. So I wanted to hear a little bit about Icon from your perspective. What do you think of the project? I know obviously you hold a channel that talks a lot about it, so I'm sure you have a lot of positive things to say. And where do you think it's going?
Okay. So look, as a project, what makes Icon unique? Well, Icon's taken its time, right? It was pitched initially as this enterprise project, and it got this bad tagline, Ethereum killer. in the
Mhm.
ICO launching days, which is completely incorrect and not something it should be called. It came out of the need for, in the 2017 bull run, it was all about everyone adopting blockchains, etc. So in the back there was Icon, a South Korean chain that launched with a company called Icon Loop, the technical partner that actually built the chain. Now they are actually a company in South Korea that specializes in blockchain infrastructure building, things like that. They have a lot of different contracts with private companies that if they want, some kind of blockchain infrastructure related tech, they build it for them. So they actually built the public chain, which is Icon, and the goal was for Icon to kind of be this central hub that connects all these private chains if they need to talk to each other, right? So there was always this vision of interoperability. It can come in the public sector. When I say public, I mean, you think Ethereum, you think Harmony, you think these are all public chains, right? They're not private chains. Anyone can come and build on them. So Icon was targeted for enterprise. It still is. Nothing's changed in that front. But as the story has evolved for Icon, it is a public chain and anyone can build on it. So we've seen a lot of that side of it take off because the enterprise adoption, well, it takes time.
Right.
We've seen when space isn't regulated and what can happen, the rise and fall of so many chains. From an enterprise perspective, things are just going to take much longer. So obviously through the journey, Icon pivoted a little bit to go, okay, well, we can use this bridging technology that we've been building, which is BTP, and for the public sector, let's actually integrate all these public chains as well. And then when enterprise comes along, they can just, jump on and get connected to the bigger web of connections we have. So that's kind of a round pitch of what Icon's about. So there's a lot of building happening on Icon. I like to think of it as, Icon doesn't have 1,000 of everything. It has core foundational apps, for example, in DeFi that everyone can build off, from your DEX to your money market to your minting synthetic assets, your stable coins, stuff like that. They're key protocols that exist and operate really, really well on Icon, thanks to its 2 seconds block time, etc. Overall, Icon's taken a while to ship its core product, which is interoperability. So I know there's a bit of and I'm going to be quite open here, like there's a bit of a love-hate relationship with the community. The community is extremely passionate and just wants Icon to ship its product, which is interoperability, which is BTP, Icon Bridge, that's launching soon. And it has taken time. So I do get the frustration because people just want, in blockchain, especially in crypto.
Right.
Now, you made an announcement yesterday. You need an announcement tomorrow. You need an announcement day after. If you're not announcing stuff, what are you doing? But that's not how tech works. So the main product is about to ship, and it's going to be a 2-phase. So you've heard me talk about BTP, but the first product that's shipping is Icon Bridge, which is kind of a scaled down version of BTP. It does everything the same. It's just not trustless. Now that's the other aspect. Icon is shipping an interoperable solution that is trustless. It's trustless, and it verifies itself via cryptography, like the way blockchain actually works. Unlike some of the other solutions that have guardians and various other ways of interoperability, that's Icon's hook. It's like, yep, it's a trustless solution, so we don't have to rely on third parties or consensus of any kind from third parties to make sure things are valid.
No, and for me,
I'll
the
stop
thing
there.
that I like a lot is when I was reading the LTP paper was actually just a very simple graph of kind of the concept of what it would look like on paper. It turns Icon into this hub for all these analogous chains with completely different technology. At the moment, it seems like just chains that are using the EVM system seems to be the start, which I think is great because you can easily copy paste excuse me. offensive language. That's not what I mean. But I mean, an app on Harmony can be built on Near. An app on Near
Yeah.
can be built on Harmony in theory. And that allows for this first launch of BTP bridges, I think, to be very smooth.
So, and this is probably one of the big highlights of its interoperable solution, right? So there's various ways of looking at it, but for example, Icon Bridge, the solution is it has 3 contracts that are built on each side of the chain. So sometimes one of the guys, Scott, who's in the foundation, he'll refer to it as a plug and play solution. Now, you made this mention of copy and paste, and
Right.
yes, I know, but the way the solution is designed essentially is once these contracts are made for a certain chain that in a certain programming language, then essentially to replicate that solution. So for example, we have Binance Smart Chain being built, right? Once Binance Smart Chain launches, the team can literally take that contract, copy and paste it, make its tweaks it needs to, and deploy it for Ethereum as well. All of a sudden, Ethereum is then added to the Icon Bridge network, and you're able to move assets back and forth. So, and you can see how once these chains start to get connected and these contracts and these sets and things are operating, got a few months under the belt and things are moving, then it's essentially that copy and paste, plug and play solution that makes the BTP/Icon Bridge this solution that it's not EVM as well. One of the points you made is the best part about the solution is it's not targeting just EVM chains. So you can see a lot of different bridging solutions at the moment. When I explore them, I notice either it's targeting a layer 2 or they are strictly EVM chains. From Icon Bridge, it can, but it doesn't need to. Like Algorand is another one that we're currently building the bridge for, which isn't an EVM chain.
Right.
And Icon itself isn't an EVM chain. So yeah.
No, appreciate the clarification. Sorry, I only know so much.
No, dude, you're not making mistakes, man. I'm just putting a bit more, as you say, I'm like, okay, yes, now I can add to this. Otherwise, I'll just keep rambling.
No, of course, and I appreciate the clarifications. I just what I was trying to refer to is that I like this concept because it's one hub where each of these chains can communicate with each other quite seamlessly, and based on what I read, at a lower cost. And then for the Icon community, they benefit because all these chains are paying fees in between, and that allows for the aggregation of fees within the network, and that can increase TVL over time.
Exactly.
Theory.
Yeah, it's all a rippling effect. So, and this is where that's a value add for Icon. Look, it's a value add for every chain. Like, for example, so I mentioned this EVM. Yes, Icon isn't EVM compatible. So what Icon's done is they actually started building a side chain, or whatever you want to call it. It was called ICE. Halfway through, and that was going to be an EVM compatible chain. So essentially, if people wanted to build dApps, currently building in Java, there's not as much, well, there aren't many chains that build in that language. So we know Solidity is the go-to language. So if you have a chain that is EVM compatible, you can lure protocols into building on your chain as well. So ICE was created as a side chain. But what's happened there is, as the journey of ICE evolved, the EVM chain, it actually evolved into a chain being built for the Polkadot ecosystem.
Right.
And so it went from ICE, and now there's a sister chain, because as you know, in Polkadot, to connect to the dot ecosystem, you need to first get onto Kasuma. So Snow was created, and currently there's another team and building these two chains and looking to get a parachain slot for Dot and Kasuma, where Snow will get deployed. And that's kind of, it's not a side chain now, it's its own chain, but it will be built with BTP in the tech stack, built connected to BTP. So as soon as those chains launch, they're instantly connected to Icon, which means that they're instantly connected to all the chains in the dot ecosystem, because that's how the dot ecosystem is created.
Right.
And its utility goes up for every chain. So for Harmony, all of a sudden now, thanks to this connection, Harmony is also going to be connected to to the dot ecosystem thanks to Snow and Ice, and they'll be able to move assets back and forth as they choose via Icon Bridge. So it has a rippling effect for all the ecosystems, which is what has attracted me and gets me excited. And this what you kind of talked about, the fee structure. Yes. So as ICX holders, this is the great part. As the bridge gets used, each of the native chains will pay fees in their native token. And there will be this mechanism in play where ICX holders can purchase those native tokens for cheaper, like a 10%, 15% cheaper than market price, essentially, and then sell it for profit. But at the same time, that ICX is kind of there's a few proposals in place at the moment. One of the leading proposals now that ICX will just get burnt. So indirectly, the more adoption of Icon Bridge, BTP, it will lead to more ICX being burnt, less inflation, et cetera, et cetera. So it has a value add for the entire ecosystem.
No, that's amazing. And for me, another cool thing about this play is that the more bridges that are made, it's also like you're exposing yourself to each ecosystem, because as each one succeeds and interoperates with one another and creates this new woven culture of different blockchains working with one another, that also benefits ICX as well. So it's almost like a quasi index kind of. I don't know. I might be stretching it.
No. Look, and yeah, this is the thing. Like some of the, in the light paper, you would have seen this. There are various calls that can be made. So, for example, like some of the protocols will actually, what we hope to happen, and we will see it very soon, is people will actually in their dApps build aspects of using BTP tech to pull assets from other chains without you having to go through at the moment, if you want to move an asset from one chain to another, you'll go to that landing page, whatever it is, multi-swap or whatever, and then you'll bridge the token. So the goal around BTP and is to let the actual dApps teams integrate the technology straight into the dApp. So they don't need to move the user off into the bridge to move their token. The dApp itself, if you want to use an asset or do something, will make a call to the chain. It'll all happen in the background and it'll just be there in your dApp. So
wow.
Which is cool. And that, look, it's coming and it's not that far away. Like that is literally one of the functions at the moment we actually had happen on Harmony was one of our teams built Wonder Game, this NFT game, and launched it on Harmony. And they used Icon Bridge, even though it's not officially out, the tech is built in the background, and they actually used it where ICX holders could purchase the NFTs on Harmony because that's where it launched. So I paid, what did I pay? 180 ICX. On the Icon chain. I just went to the site, clicked, paid. 1 minute later, the NFT was minted in my Harmony wallet. And without using the bridge, that's how the application was built and allowed Icon holders to purchase NFTs on Harmony using Icon Bridge in the background. So, and that was the first use case. That's how Icon Bridge has launched. And people will literally be able to take that and go, well, could we do this in any other scenario? And if your chain is connected to Icon Bridge, yes, you can. You can literally take it and build stuff like that.
I mean, that's amazing, because you're also adding like a new like untouched layer of interoperability, because now the smart contract associated with the game was able to like do that cross-chain transaction, which is incredible. And I'm wondering how far this is going to stretch. Like if I'm going to be on ETH and do some type of transaction that will interact with Algorand through ICX, I mean, that would be some next level stuff.
That's exactly what it's going to enable. Yeah, bingo. Like, I mean, and this is where having Scott, he articulates this brilliantly. He will give you, an exact how an application would use it and what it will do in the background. But Harmony, the Wonder Game example I gave is a great one to see, because you can actually go right now. You can go to the game site and utilize it yourself right now and purchase an NFT. Although now it's 200 ICX or something, because I bought at the whitelist, pre-sale, etc.
Right.
But yeah, it's still working. It's still in action. The pre-sale, the sale is still happening, and you can use the Icon Bridge functionality to see how it works.
No, that's awesome. And so now I'm going to get into one tough question. So there's an infamous quote from Vitalik Buterin where he says the world will be multi-chain, but not cross-chain. Out of curiosity, you've had the opportunity to speak with a lot of people on the team. I'm sure you yourself might have seen that tweet before. Like everyone in Cosmos Polkadot get that all the time. So what are your thoughts on that tweet? Is it and just a question, hopefully everyone on is learning. Is there a security concern when you start creating all these layers of interoperability? And if so, is that being addressed, and how?
Well, okay, so yes, of course there is. Like, and you know, like let's look at Luna, for example. Okay. Now, everyone has a different take, but look, Luna screwed me this market. I was a firm believer. I used a lot of the dApps, so I was doing everything on Luna as well. I think when I reflect back on it, I knew off Luna. I knew of its protocols called Mirror and Anchor and UST. But do you know how I knew of them? I knew of them because they moved their assets, UST, and a lot of their Mirror products onto Ethereum.
Yeah.
This was how I actually heard of Luna, because I was using Harvest Finance. I was doing some yield farming, and then I was like, "What's this UST? What's this? What's this people keep talking about?" And then I traced it back. And when I traced it back, I looked at it, and I was like, "Well, how'd they get the assets on Ethereum?" And I looked and I saw, oh, they built a private bridge, like a private bridge that could allow anyone to move UST, etc., onto Ethereum. It was great. It showed if you connect yourself to Ethereum from a different chain, you could literally bring your chain, if your chain had a good product, something that was usable and a market fit, it would bring people across. It would bring more eyes to your chain. Obviously, the story evolved with Luna, and it became big, and then it exploded. But when the explosion happened, you know, Luna was designed in certain ways. It would mint and thing all on chain. It had white whale. It had all these layers of protocols built on top on the main chain to defend the peg. Okay, on Luna to defend the peg. And when we saw this depegging event, the on-chain mechanisms were functioning as planned. Everything was defending the peg, and it was working for a little while. What started to happen is, as more people panicked, and then everyone was trying to use your central exchanges, your bridges, all the various wormhole, the private bridges, and they were all just getting clogged and not working. So then this comes back to what you just asked me. Well, you know, in this instance, if people really look at it, there were so many various vectors that failed in the grand collapse of UST. Now, if I flip the question and said, if all of that happened on chain, where people weren't trying to move assets from off chain or back onto Terra, would the peg have failed? Would it have exploded? I mean, probably the answer is yes, but I don't know. I question it. You know, I feel there was a lot of different factors that played, and this assets being off chain and then having to move back on created a compounding effect that made it fail. So if they had a pegging mechanism on Ethereum where majority of the liquidity was, would it have made a difference? Again, I ask these questions, but I'm coming back to what you've asked me. So in this instance, yes, there are failure points, and we witnessed it in the grand collapse. I mean, there were many other things that played a part, but I do believe that was one part that played that failed in Luna's execution of well, its strategy. You know, it used all these central vectors that failed it in the end. So now coming back to why it's different with Icon solution, like it comes back to Icon Bridge isn't trustless, but BTP, blockchain transmission protocol, is a trustless solution. So when 2.0 rolls out, it won't well, it's a trustless solution, so that I don't need to. I'm not going to deep dive into that. So uh, ultimately, though, one of the uh, one of the I mean, time will tell. Like, I will
Hmm.
say, I think chains will need to be connected. They need to be. It's already happening every day now. I see a new interoperable solution launching for moving assets between
Hmm.
one chain to the other. I don't think they'll operate in silos. I actually think they need to be connected, and I think we need a better solution for um,
Hmm.
for it to uh, not be compromised, basically. So I don't know. Vitalik, he's Vitalik, right? But yeah, I just think the chains need to be. I think this idea that it'll just be Ethereum and all the layer twos on top. I don't think that's the reality that will play out. In fact, this cycle has showed us otherwise.
Hmm.
And I think every new cycle, from what I'm learned, is we're just going to see new kids on the block constantly challenging dominance of Ethereum or whatever. And some of
Right.
them may exist and stay about, but others will just fail, like Luna. Um, yeah. So
It was a tough question, and I appreciate your honesty. I think it's interesting you mentioned that about the challenging of dominance, because I think oftentimes what people forget is this is a technology first and foremost.
mm,
Before it's anything else, it's a technology, and by proxy of being technology, there's always the possibility, if not likely, that something better comes along
yeah.
through innovation. And this is just for you, for our member Pablo, who just came in. He's an awesome listener, and anyone else who's watching. It's good to be skeptical. It's good to learn. It's good to read these white papers and try your best to understand what you're investing in.
mm.
So personally, based on my research, I think the BTP Bridge solution is brilliant. So I mean, I'm very excited about it. So I am a biased party here, but I do not
Yeah.
hold any ICX. Full disclosure. Also, nothing in this
Ah,
video is financial advice. Just saying.
what? But I've been making all my investments right now based on what you've been saying.
But I forgot to say that for the YouTube overlords. So
Yes.
always gotta say that. But I just very much enjoy talking to you, and your breath. You got so much to say. I love it. Uh, so moving on, you mentioned Luna and UST, and there's been this massive deleveraging that's been going on throughout the market. It seems to be a ripple effect that started from UST, from the UST depegging. It hit Celsius. I don't know how much they lost. Even if they sold only 4% down, 4% of billions is
Mm,
it's a lot of money. So
mm.
money was lost there. Money was lost in Three Arrows Capital, which we don't even have all those details yet. So far, Suzu's tweets seem to indicate that things are going to be more painful. So, out of curiosity, and we'll get back to Icon, but you just got my mind in that place. I had to ask you, what do you think is going to happen during the market? Do you think there are still more cracks to be cracked?
Um, Look, I think I think the writing was on the wall when I started seeing second wallet strategy, where the goal of a second wallet to max leverage it, and this was on Luna. This is what a lot of YouTubers started showing was, borrow max, and if Luna falls below, yes, it will sell, but that's your way of exiting your position and not going down with your bags. Um, I was like, no, this is just getting a bit too much leverage,
Wow.
and even the degen box and stuff like that. There was other things at play where basically it encouraged looping of money. Like, I don't mind the old-fashioned lock up some ETH and borrow against it and take that to do something, maybe buy more ETH, and that was my last strategy for the last market. But when it entailed kind of taking your money, just constantly re-looping the same money over and over, using these private bridges, etc., I started to feel a little bit uncomfortable personally. Not to say I didn't explore it to see, just to learn, but didn't use them myself. I think I feel this drop has been quite large. Like, I know we've gone up quite quickly, but I don't remember the last cycle it falling so quickly. I don't know why. Maybe not. But I remember it being a bit slower. I remember it taking a long time to keep dropping. It feels like at this time we've just fallen. And yeah, I mean, can you believe it? Like, these firms that have so much money have not even, like, they didn't gauge the markets. Like, that drop from 69 to 40, we've been hovering there for a little bit. What were they doing? Max leveraged. Why weren't they managing their risk? It's baffling to me. Like, then you see everything that's going on. It's like, do I feel there'll be more pain? I feel, yes, I do. Yeah, that's all. I just think it's a bit of a joke, in all honesty, like how leveraged these firms were.
Yeah, I think that the interesting thing is we saw in 2008 lots of leverage in subprime mortgages. Like, people who didn't have credit were getting loans, and it was quite nefarious. The banks were like, there's no way you're going to pay this back. We're going to increase your variable rate. It's going to go up, and then we're going to get the house back, and we're going to sell it to the next bozo, and then get it back. Repeat. And eventually houses got to a point that they were not going to go any higher, and buyers didn't have the money to buy them. And we had a collapse, and there wasn't enough demand to justify the supply, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of a blasé way of describing 2008. But the difference is, when 2008 happened, we had an incredibly corrupt line of thinking where these banks were bailed out, and basically Wall Street Degens, were bailed out, and nothing went to the home buyers. And what's interesting here, it's a consequence of being in what, for the most part, is in my opinion, a very decentralized network and economy, is that there's no one coming to bail us out. Like, there is no one coming. And and depending on whether you're a modern monetary economist or if you're more conservative, whatever the case may be, either that collapse for Bitcoin might be a massive benefit to the market by unwinding all of this leverage, or something worse could happen. But me personally, I think we've aggregated so much value. Maybe the bottom is not in, but I think if we look at the long term, just the concept that someone in, say, Zimbabwe can get their hands on US dollars and a yield of 4% in a hyperinflationary market is just wild. And it's just and it's amazing. You didn't have to go to a bank or anything. It was a smooth, permissionless, trustless thing that all he needed was the internet, or she needed was the internet. And for me, it's a sign of freedom. And that's kind of where we're going in this world where we can control our own finances. We're just in the beginning, but I think long term, this is going to be a massive thing that Wall Street people are going to have to compete with. And we wanted the money to come in. It came in, and we got a ton of leverage and shorting, and who knows what else.
Well, look, it's interesting, right? Because again, when you reflect back, again, Sassel, he put out this tweet and he said, Eric, one of the guys did, he said, all, your DeFi 1 protocols, like your that's what they label, like, your Aves, your compounds, stuff like that. They're that DeFi 101, the core foundational DeFi products. They've worked, they haven't collapsed. They've operated just as they're supposed to, and they're still here. And what is it? Before this bull cycle, Aave had nothing in its treasury, and now it has, like, don't quote me on this, 50 million or billion, one of the two figures it has in its treasury, and a whole bunch of users, etc., etc. Yes, it's crashing. We were over leveraged. We're seeing the repercussions. Frankly, Luna's collapse with UST's adoption, the level of adoption UST had and it was bringing in a lot of new blood. So its crash, the initial what it rocked the market didn't feel justified to me. It was like, hang on a second, this should be far bigger. And now we're seeing, we basically, I think in the last 2 weeks, we've seen a lot of that keep compounding and play out. It'll play out a little bit longer, but to your point, yes, products are still there. You can still use it if you use it safe, smart. It's open to anyone, so it doesn't matter where you are. To your point, somewhere in Zimbabwe can get that kind of interest. Well, holy crap. And the people are still building, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, we may go into this bit of a lumber. People like, oh, I got burnt, lost, because a lot of people have lost a lot of money. And they would via UST because they were leveraging through Anchor, which is unfortunate. But doesn't stop the builders from building. It won't stop innovation from happening. It is happening every day. If you can see past the doom and gloom and 3,000 and Bitcoin's dead, you'll see the protocols are still shipping new features. No,
and I 100% agree. I think that this, for me, and this is the way I look at it, this is not investment advice, just investment opinion. It was crazy risky to start buying anything when Bitcoin was around the 60K region. Now you could be buying Bitcoin, probably, who knows, the bottom could be 10K, 5K, but that's 50 to 75% down. And if you were to look at your upside, potentially on the next bull market, 60,000 Bitcoin, if you are able to buy 10,000, beats the stock market any day in 2 years, or potentially 2 years, maybe 3 or 4, who knows? But that for me is the way I'm viewing it. I've definitely learned a lot in this last bull market, and I'm now taking a much more strict approach and just being a little bit more conservative, but looking at this as an opportunity. If people want to sell their Bitcoin to me, I'll take it. I got this guy on my desk every single day. Remind me.
Nice.
What to do. I don't know if it'll pop up, and because of my background. There we go. My little hodler. So, I mean, honestly, not financial advice, but I'm like you. I recognize that people are building all the time. There's still incredible things going on, and this deleveraging might be what has to happen to have a much more healthy bull market. I mean, if we were to look at it from before, pretty much as soon as we dipped from that price, 67, 68,000, we've pretty much been bear. We've had a couple pumps in random coins. If you use Moon Factor, the website, Damien's website that I interviewed yesterday, you'll see all the micro caps are still pumping. There's a bull market somewhere.
Well, I think this is the biggest takeaway. And this is the unfortunate. In my story, you heard I bought middle of the bottom of before that last cycle, but in my story, obviously, as it went up, I didn't take any profits, and it all came back down worse than what it was before. So I was actually left with less money. However, my takeaway, and even my takeaway this cycle, has been I looked into what I was holding, and oh man, we did because it did 100 episodes of Iron Icon, did a live stream, and the live stream just turned into everyone who joined fans of the show. We're just talking of what they bought in the last cycle. And there were some gems. It seemed like everyone had bought a lot of these similar coins, and we're still holding it in the hope for a moon, but there will be no moon. So coming back, I think the biggest thing I learned was actually researching what I held, what the coins actually were. Were they protocol coins? Were they chain? Was stuff being built on the chain? I had no new money to invest given the situation. I'd already put my money in, it had gone up to thing and back to nothing. So I was stuck holding bags. All I did was diversify and move back into where the building and where the innovation was happening. So I think this is, some people will be stuck. Some people won't look. If other people can stomach the hurt and get through it and kind of go, okay, well, what am I left with, and what should I move it back into to make sure I come out, get in a better position for the next cycle, whenever that will be. I don't think we're going to see. I don't know. This is my personal view. I just think we're a while away. And if there's anything to do at this point, it is start using protocols. Honestly, that's all I did. Everything I did before was after the bull run ended, I just started using what was being built to see what the hell is all this, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is great. I can earn this much interest. I can borrow. I learned so many things just by playing on the blockchain.
Absolutely. And also, even though one of my favorite things that I'm seeing on Twitter is how everyone's posting Celsius keeps putting wrapped Bitcoin into the MakerDAO contract. Oh my God,
Yes.
look, the number has gotten lower. And the thing that I find funny is that, remember how I said earlier, nobody's going to bail you out in crypto. But it's so beautiful that MakerDAO is so decentralized that they can't just call the MakerDAO DAO and they're like, hey, I need you to do this for me. Oh my God, can you imagine? And like, that's not how it works. It's like when it hits number, you're out.
But isn't it? It's on the opposite.
I think that's beautiful. I think that's like
where do you see in traditional finance? Like, can you see what state? Like, where we're talking, we've witnessed stuff in crypto. Who knows if this shit is actually happening in the banking sector as well? Not who knows, it actually is happening. It's we only learn about it once it's gone belly up in different countries. You see where it happens. You don't get to go, hey, Wells Fargo, I don't know, American banks, whichever one, Bank of America. What's your balance sheet? Yeah, Wells Fargo. What's your balance sheet? How much money have you? You know, no, you can't. They'll be like, who the hell are you? Get lost. Over here, every time Celsius updates it, it's like, on one hand, it's a bit too transparent, but that's what you love about it. It's great.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the beauty of it. It's the code itself becomes the law. It's the smart contract. It's not the smart person.
No.
You know? So I personally find that to be quite freeing. But before we continue talking about the philosophy of cryptocurrency and money, maybe we just need to do another episode where we just focus on that. But I wanted to ask you, so obviously you're very involved with the Icon team. From this position, seeing the market go down, how has the team been keeping morale? How's the community been keeping up their morale? What has been the reaction from the team currently?
Look, I mean, with the team, they've got their heads down during the bull market and in the bear market. They're building, they're doing things. That's what the team does, right? Like,
right.
So nothing's changed on that front. It's more, we've got the product, BTP on the verge of launching. Icon Bridge is literally in the final stages of, testing, because the wonder game scenario that I explained to you, that's live, and they've been collating a lot of the data in the background to make sure everything's been functioning, or analyzing a few things to go, well, what's the data telling us? Do we need to make any changes in the back end, planning, stuff like that? So all that is just in full play, even though the markets have been disastrous, that they haven't all gone, oh crap, what are we doing running around in circles? No, it's like builders are going to keep building, and that's what's happening. In terms of the community, look, you know what? Icon's been doing a great job of late. Now, yes, I'm quite close to it. I have a voice in the community. I am the community, part of the community. But overall, the foundation has, been putting on community managers. All the dApps have been, the protocols that have been building have been onboarding community managers. They've been engaging our entire Icon community, keeping them in the loop with each protocol, what they've got going on, what their plans are. Even in the bear market now, a lot of these protocols have been transparent with the community, saying what they're going to be doing to manage, their projects and what state the projects are in. So overall, even though the markets have been terrible, the price action hasn't been good. I'm seeing quite the opposite in the Icon community. Everyone's quite engaged and happy to be part of it. Again, people are still wanting when Icon Bridge, when is it launching? They want that date, it should have shipped. Yes, I know. I get it. I feel that as well. But apart from that, that is happening. It's not, I've seen it. I know it's happening. Yeah, overall, it's a shit time, but the community has made it worth it. Like, I swear, some of the communities, especially the NFT projects, some of them, you go in the discords, you wouldn't even know it's a bear market. Everyone's like over the moon.
Right. No, and honestly, I'm very excited for the technology. You
Mm.
know, I think people forget like the benefit of taking your time, of watching
Yeah.
other protocols come and go like nothing. Nobody saw Luna going up so fast and going down so fast. You know, and that is a benefit to any and every blockchain around to try to figure out the contagion. How did it happen? What can you do to avoid it? So I appreciate the fact that as I kept digging through all the information in ICX, that there was so much building going on, and in your
Mm.
videos, so many different projects going on. DeFi Llama needs to keep up on all that.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Uh,
so I guess if with your experience, with your background in 2017 to this market to being involved with ICX, for anybody that just wants to get their feet wet in the industry or feet wet. Oh God, what have I done
yeah,
with my?
yeah. I think
You
we all know
understand?
what you mean.
what what's some advice that you might give to others, or maybe just content creator like myself?
Uh, Look, honestly, even I'm just starting out. Like, persistence is key. Probably my biggest thing. Like, even when I started, actually, my channel's now over a year old, I guess. But it just takes time. If you're creating content, you just got to keep creating. And I think this is one of the other parts. Like, one of the reason I got quite involved with Icon, as well as I learned a lot of Ethereum. Then I saw these protocols being built, about to launch on Icon. It hadn't, they hadn't, by the time I'd started making tutorials and stuff, Icon didn't have any dApps on it. The only thing you could do, well, there was one, and then you could stake, which was giving you an 8% yield. So everyone was staking. Then I saw some of the protocols that were getting built, and I was quite excited. I'm like, oh, I've used this on Ethereum. This is quite cool. Oh, this money market, this is great. So when I created content, the community really rallied behind, and they were really awesome and grateful. And anything I released, straight away supporting it and promoting it to everyone. So that was really awesome, and probably as well one of the big reasons I hung around with Icon, because I always came back to this, that I feel like personally can make a difference. My effort, whatever I'm doing, it is helping a lot of people, and I saw that, and I got a lot of encouragement from the community. And yeah, if you're starting out, sometimes getting into a community is one of the best ways to get a lot of exposure. The second thing as well, I always come back to, and this is not Icon related, but I think it is natural for everyone when they enter the crypto space to go, where can I find my, pennies bag that's going to make me millions? And people actually ignore the core fundamentals, which is BTC and ETH. Like, you come back, if you're getting involved, like the first thing you want to look at is look at BTC and ETH. They are, that's what I did even last when I corrected back into BTC ETH. Again, this bull market, I went a bit all over the place, and then I was like, damn it, I told myself BTC and ETH. Why? So yeah, why the second time? But so coming back to it, a lot of building is happening there. So yeah, those are your bags to stack. And look, Icon is great, because obviously, to your question, I do believe, like, just before the last bull market, I was using Ethereum a lot. But one thing I started to realize, and we all knew, ETH would get congested quite quickly.
Of
So
course.
as you start learning, if you look at it and go, well, okay, ETH is congested, all the users are still on Ethereum. What is something that's going to make a difference, make this better? Oh, layer twos. Okay, what do layer twos do? So we had, at the time, Polygon, Loopring, and there was another one. Anyway, back then, these were solutions that were just being built or about to launch. However, because being involved, actually using it, I was able to identify and go, actually, yes, these layer 2 solutions make sense. Their tokens make sense. They're actually going to help protocols. Protocols can build on them. They're much faster, much cheaper. It takes off all the congestion of Ethereum. It's a no-brainer. So, you find opportunity once you start understanding what you're using. And in this case, we saw a lot of the layer 2s did explode because, well, if I can spend $1 versus $100 on fees, what are you going to do? So, opportunity strikes when you use and keep teaching yourself. Knowledge is power.
That was beautiful. Love it. I might have to make that a clip. Fantastic. So Fez, I just wanted to say, I greatly appreciate your time. I have no idea what time it is in Australia, but I appreciate you making it. It's a little late on my time. Well, not that late, really. It's late for a high schooler. It's early for a Floridian. My words, anyways.
Yeah. I realize I spend a lot of time talking about everything, not as much on Icon. I think one thing I do want to close out and say, so Icon's transitioned into what they say, Icon 2.0. The chain went from Python to Java, the Go language, which is much faster. The second aspect, a lot of changes to its core inflation model, to just its tokenomics. For example, in the past, I don't even want to explain what used to happen, but now it's a standard 3.99% inflation model. Off that inflation, to give a bit of context, 77% of it goes to stakers. So at the moment, if you stake your ICX, you're getting around an 8% return. Then you got 13% that gets dished out to validators as rewards for running a node. And then 10% of the funds actually goes to CPS. It's going to be renamed Proposal System, which is basically a building fund, a decentralized grant system. And it gets topped up by inflation every day. So if you're a builder, you're a content creator, you're doing something where you can add value to either protocols on Icon or Icon itself, you can put together a proposal for funding to build a dApp, anything really, as long as it's something Icon related or adding value to Icon, you can go put it and the validators will vote for it and you'll receive funding to start building. So a lot of like Wonder Game, for example, that launched on Harmony, not even on Icon, it launched on Harmony, was actually funded by CPS, which is Icon's inflation being used to as grants to advocate building. So in this instance, it's Harmony that's benefited, but actually it's both the chains that's benefited, because all of a sudden we've got two communities coming together, and you'll hopefully, I'm pretty sure after this you're going to be on Icon using some of its dApps, and I've actually got plans to keep exploring Harmony, not the gaming side. I want to explore the DeFi side. So overall the Icon ecosystem, its core products are about to ship, but in the background, quite a lot of changes have been made to streamline the system. So, price hasn't been reflective, but I'm a firm believer that a lot of the inflation changes that have happened and the way the inflation is being directed at the moment is much better than it was in the past years, and especially when Icon launched and the way the old validator system used to work. Now, validators may not agree with me, but that's cool. I'm not I'm not trying to please them. I just think from an inflation perspective. And the final piece is, as we get more adoption, so BTP, more people build, more transactions, that is, Icon is designed to burn. So as more transactions pick up, ICX is being burnt in the background. So once we meet that kind of perfect worlds unite, we will not, even though we're inflating at 4%, because there's far more activity on the chain, we'll actually be burning ICX in the long run. And that's the goal here. So for the chain to be to move from an inflation to actually what's happening with ETH. You know how they make so much noise. Oh my God, we burnt a million
Yeah.
Ethereum. But basically, Icon was built in that way. So once we hit a certain amount of transactions, we will actually be burning more ICX than we output, making the tokenomics deflationary, which some people seem to make a big deal of. So
No, that's fantastic. Hey, but I appreciate your time so much. I really do, Fez. This is awesome. Like, they're so lucky to have you. I gotta say that. If there's someone
Thanks, man.
from that group of 4 of us before this whole thing began, Fez, you definitely are a phenomenal speaker. You're full of knowledge beyond just crypto itself, and I greatly appreciate your wisdom. I look forward to hopefully seeing you again, part 2, maybe in the future.
Well, yeah, well, maybe you got to come on to Iron Icon and talk about Harmony. There we go.
Maybe I'll have to do that.
yeah. Okay, sounds good.
All right, and by the way, guess what else I have that you don't?
What?
A proper outro.
Who said I don't have an outro? I thought I did have one.
Wait.
Oh, wait, hear me. Let me hear it.
There we go.
Degens for a brighter future.
Hey. But I look forward to seeing you again, all right?
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me on the show.
Before you go, everybody who's watching, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. I will put a link to Eyes on Icon below so you can check out more of Fez's wonderful, beautiful, excellent content. And I look forward to seeing all of you again. Degens safely. Cheers.
Take care. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.